Hello everyone, in today's video we shall learn how to create this menu with the logo, some menu options and a contact button both in the laptop or any screen size for that matter. So when we go to the inspect, it has these sandwich option. So when you expand, you have all the same options that you would uh, see when you're on the laptop, which is pretty cool. It's all in one format, so that's really nice. So let's hop into the bubble editor and see how we can learn this. So let's go ahead and create a new page, and I'm going to uh, name the page as menu 2 because I already have a menu page. Okay, so I'm going to double click on it and it says upgrade responsive beta. So let's upgrade the responsive engine to Flexbox. So I'm going to rename that as well. And for the layout, let's switch it to column and the width is 1280. And now let's go ahead and bring in a floating group. A floating group is a group that stays on the page. Even though you are scrolling down to the page, it stays right on top. But if you want the header to move along with the rest of the page, then you can opt for group. And I'm going to rename this as menu. And towards the layout, I'm going to switch to column, and let's uncheck this and make this 0 and the height 0 as well. And since the page is 1280, I'm going to keep the max width 1280 as well. And fit height to content, check. So now next I'm going to bring in a group inside the floating group. So let's see where it is on the page. So reveal in elements tree. So currently it's outside the floating group, but we want it inside the floating group. So I'm just going to copy and paste it, and we can delete this, delete the group. Okay. So now I'm going to rename this as group header, and it's good. So heading over to the layout, let's go ahead and switch it to row, and I'm going to opt for a space between. You will see how that looks later on, but it is going to be something like this. So yeah, so I'm going to just uncheck that and cancel, make it 0 for the min width and min height. And for the margins, let's give it 40, 40, 40, and 40, so that we have uh, 40 pixels on all sides of the main group header. So that is sorted. So now let's go ahead and bring in our next group. So let's go ahead and click on group, and let's try and place it inside a group header. It's fine, we can always copy and paste it. So that's there, so let's delete that. And now for group C, which is going to be the logo, and again I'm going to switch it to row, and again I'm going to switch it to row and enable the check option for make this element fixed width. We don't want that, but I'm going to remove the min width and set the option to fit width to content. But before that, I'm just going to keep the space so that it's easy to put in content. So I'm going to drag, copy the text and drop it in there. So now we can go ahead and type in the title, which is the logo, which is good. And I'm going to remove the styling, and I'm going to make this a little bit dark gray, the line height of 1.5, and the inter regular to inter 700 maybe. Okay, and this to 24. I think that looks pretty good. And yeah, let's make this a little bit darker. That looks good. So now let's head over to layout and set the width of it to fit with the content, and let's remove the min width and min height as well. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Group logo, now we can fit it to fixed width, and we can remove the min height as well. Okay, so it's nice and put in the corner of the group. It is good. And this entire group that is highlighted blue is group header and group logo. So group logo is done. And now let's go ahead and actually let's go ahead and duplicate this. So now I'm just going to uncheck this so that we have this entire group so that we can duplicate it, or we can take a group and paste it inside of group header. So this is the easiest way to do it. Okay, so now again, without forgetting, let's go ahead group logo and make sure that we fit width to content. So that is there. Okay, so now we can go ahead and rename this to group menu. And again, let's go ahead and switch it to row. It is already there because we duplicated uh, the group logo, which was also group row. So now I'm going to opt for space between, and as you can see there's certain amount of space between each menu. So space between takes care of those spaces. So now as we scroll down to make this element fixed width, the max width of it will be 320. So that is sorted out with the group menu. So let's go over to text coach, and let's go ahead and change the text to home. And now let's change the style of it as well. I'm going to select Inter 500 and 14. That looks good. And another thing that we can do to group menu is centralize it so that it's nice and in between. And now I'm just going to, yeah, that looks pretty good. So now let's go ahead and put some margin space for the left side of the text. So I'm going to give it maybe around 10, and we can always come back to uh, edit the numbers. So yeah, so now this looks good. So I'm going to duplicate four more of these. It is Control D. Okay, so now I'm just going to rename it to about courses, stories, and um, shop, which is good. So now let's go ahead and see how we can go about recreating the button. So like previously, the simplest way to recreate a group is duplicating it, and we can rename it to avoid confusion button. Okay, so now we can keep one of it because we'll be using just one button. So let's go ahead and delete it. Okay, so now I'm just going directly to layout, and I'm going to opt for fixed width, and there we go. So now let's go ahead to home, I mean text home, and rename it to contact. So now let's go ahead and style the button. So this looks good. Okay. So now for the background style, which is obviously you can see it's slightly on the yellow side, and let's go ahead and opt for that. and I have a color in mind. So I'm going to type the color down, and I'm going to opt for the opacity 90%, and the padding, which is going to opt for vertical 4, and the horizontal 8. Okay. So currently we have a square button which looks good, but we can give it more styling by opting for 2 maybe. Let's do 100 for a really nice button effect. Okay. So yeah, so this looks good. So let's go ahead and preview this to see how this actually looks like. So let's do that. Okay, it actually looks pretty good. So now let's head over to contact, which we currently are on, and I'm going to increase the font size to 15 a little bit, and let's see how that looks. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So now let's go ahead and create a mobile version of this particular menu. So I'm going to drag and drop in a group, and let's rename it to mobile menu with the container layout set to column and full width, and I'm going to remove the mid width and a min height. Actually, the min height, it can be 100 for now. And I'm going to scroll down and set the margin top to 116 so that uh, the beginning of the group mobile menu um, meets the thing, the floating group menu. So it's just right there. It's not clashing. So now let's go ahead and copy the text home from here and paste it inside of group mobile menu. So just go and right click, copy and paste it in right here. So it is right there. So let's go ahead and uncheck fit with the content so that it takes up the entire space, and let's go ahead and remove the margins from here, the left and right, and I'm going to change the appearance. I'll keep all of this, and the padding, as you can see, let's opt for 20 vertical and 20 horizontal. That looks good. Okay, so yeah, so this looks good as you can see. So I'm just going to duplicate it about 5 times actually. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly rename this to the menu titles. And as for contact, we'll be taking in the color from here. So let's go ahead and copy this color, which is set to 90% opacity. I'm just going to place it in right there. And let's go ahead and change the font color to white. And yeah, that looks pretty good. So another thing that we can do is uh, let's hide this for now, and let's expand this. So next to it, in order for the mobile view to work, we need to bring in an icon. So now I'm just going to click on the icon and drop it next to contact. Actually, it should be inside the group header. Okay, yeah. Paste. Let's go ahead to layout and make it last. So there we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete this. Reveal is right there. Okay, so now I'm just going to select the option which is the 3 lines. So let's go ahead and search for it. It's right here. and I'm going to remove the style and set it to black. And over to layout, I'm going to set the width to 20, height to 20, and center align it as well. Okay, so the height and width is set to 20 pixel. We have to collapse this when it's hidden in order for the mobile menu to work. So yeah, so let's go over to conditionals. We'll be working on conditionals now. So I'm going to set the current width, page width to the page itself 1280. The page width is 1280, so I'm going to make it set the condition to that. And now let's go over to each and every group. So now over to the group header, which is the main group inside of the floating group menu. I'm going to set the conditionals to the same conditionals, but current page width is lesser than 640, and this will be left margin and right margin, but it will be set to 20. And the same thing goes for group menu. Group logo will stay the same for both bigger screen as well as the mobile screen, so there's no condition to that. Whereas for group menu, it will be hidden when as the screen size becomes less and less. So yeah, so it really depends on which screen size. So for that, we are going to put in a condition. So same thing is the current page width is lesser than a 960. The element is visible. Okay, so let's go over to group button, because group button is inside of group mobile menu, which is similar to this group, which is group menu itself. So that's why we are applying the condition to group button. So over to group button, I'm going to define a condition, which is current page width lesser than or equal to 960. And I'm going to set the condition, which is this element is visible. So another thing that we can apply on the hamburger icon is another group, which is the group mobile menu. So when the group, actually, no, we have to define another condition. Group mobile menu is visible. The icon is close. Let's type in close. Okay, so that is right there. Okay, so that looks good. So another thing that we have to do is enable the toggle option. So let's go ahead and enable that toggle and element. So the only element that we have right now is the group mobile menu. So that's good. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Okay, so we can see the mobile group is on. So let's go ahead and click on uh, enable to see. So now let's go over to the layout, collapse when hidden, and this element is not visible on page load because this option was enabled. So that's why we got to see it on the screen. So now we have this really nice layout, the logo, the menus, and the contact button. So let's go ahead and right click, inspect. So it looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and click on it. It looks really good. And we have an enabling, working sandwich option, which displays all the menu. So that's good. So let's go ahead and um, as we drag out the screen, it becomes big and big. So on different screens, all the mobile options, even the tablet, laptop, the 4K option, it has the laptop screen, whereas the mobile version has the sandwich option, which is pretty cool. So there you have it, a working menu display for both laptops and other screen sizes as well. So I hope you learned something from this video, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.